have with us Lisa Howard, who is the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Media at the New York Times. She leads the core ad ops and planning for the legendary brand. She's been with the Times for over 5 years, but has also been at WebMD, Yahoo, Billboard, and Condé Nast. So let's welcome Lisa.
Unmute. Hello, can you hear me?
Here you are. Hi, Lisa. Good to see you.
Nice to see you, Steve. How are you? Thank you for the introduction.
And you are, I'm gonna let you take it over because I said about all that I have to say about this interesting relationship between the subscription model and the ad model, and you obviously know more about it than I do. So I'm gonna hand it off to you.
Happy to, happy to. I think the video is gonna go to my colleague who's gonna help me. So once we see that, we can get started. There we go. Okay, so hello everyone. As Steve said, I'm gonna kind of spend my 20 minutes with you today. Just 1 second, sorry, I'm still having some technical issues. Okay. One more second. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna spend my time today sharing how we at the Times are drafting off of the success of our subscription business. And that's really helped us create better alternatives to what exists in the ad market today. And this little bee, our mascot for the New York Times, spelling bee, is gonna help me out. But first, I'll share a short video for how we position the New York Times to our audience and our subscribers, just to orient us all a bit.
Really simple existential questions.
Okay. So I'm not sure if any of you saw that. That was our latest creative from our Truth ad campaign. And our business strategy has allowed us to create an ad model that feeds on itself. I think we start at the top here where subscription first puts our reader first. That earns reader trust. That holds us accountable for safe sharing of information. It also affords us a better understanding of our readers, which leads to more engaged readers. And that engagement results in better ad performance. Now, I know that's a lot to break down, so I'm gonna try to illustrate this strategy with some nice round numbers. This is the percent of people in the US who subscribe to at least one digital news service. Most of those of us in publishing, we totally get that this is a pretty impressive number, considering that just a decade ago, we were debating whether there was even an addressable market for paid digital news and content at all. This is the number of paid subscriptions that we at the New York Times are on track to having by 2025. We are actually right now currently ahead of pace with 8 million subscriptions. And this number represents over $1 billion of annual revenue for us. So subs, interestingly, crossed the mark for us 2 years ago as our largest revenue stream. And that has allowed us to reinvest in our products and our data. And, you know, I think this number is an important number, but it's not the most important number. It's not really the number that we're thinking most about right now. That's this number. This 100 million number is our number of registrations. If our audience is our greatest asset, and we believe that it is, then we need to know them really well. And this is the number that we look to here at the New York Times, because it is our registered users. So it's a huge differentiator for us. It means we have information on 100 million of these little reader bees. And the scale of that information is helping drive both our subscription acquisition strategy as well as our ad business. I should pause here and share that just as truth is driving our journalism, and you saw that in the ad at the front of this presentation, trust is the foundation for our ads strategy at the Times. It all starts with a trusted relationship with our reader, and that trust informs our entire ads strategy, including our first-party data approach. And this is really important, and your last panel talked a bit about this, but if the digital ad industry can't earn back the trust of consumers, then the value of digital ads won't be there in the future. And maybe, it's also the right thing to do, and the right thing by consumers. And they do want to feel a sense of shared values with the brands they support. So important to keep that in mind as well. So back to the numbers, in addition to 100 million registered users, more than 200,000 of our readers have voluntarily given us additional personal information to help us understand them. These are important data points. It's household income, it's job description, it's age, or job title and age. They give it directly to us via survey, and it is more accurate than third party. We built models off of this 200,000, and when combined with our site's behavioral data, we can now understand who these people are, how they're coming to us, and what different audience segments are reading on site. It's helped us in both our subscription business and our ad business understand our audiences better, personalize for them, and target in relevant ways. And an aside here, with just one more beat on trust around the data, we didn't pay these 200,000 people. They offered the information to us because they want us to understand them better. And this is an important point, we were transparent with them about exactly what we were going to do with it. And maybe even more importantly, what we were not going to do with it. Our governance team has a saying that we operate by, which is what happens on the Times stays on the Times. Okay, one more number, last one, I promise. Because of our unique breadth and scale, we now have over 100 different first-party audience segments. These are privacy-first segments. They're built for accuracy and performance. They're consistently performing better than third-party, and we now only offer first-party targeting solutions. Now, we haven't had to sacrifice on the quality of our data either. In fact, our data scientists are using tools like natural language processing and machine learning to build out a sophisticated, scaled set of knowledge, all to help us understand our audience deeply and translate that understanding into more subscriptions and more performant ads. And I think putting our readers first and making our product worth paying for means that, we've had many conversations at the Times around what hard choices we had to make. And I think one of the first ones was that we reduced the volume of ads. We removed another one was we removed open programmatic from our most premium environments, like our app environment that you see here. And we've prioritized data privacy in areas where we could have been a lot more invasive. What we learned in these experiments is primarily two things. One, fewer ads can actually be more valuable. They can be better and more performant. And two, being on the right side of data privacy doesn't have to mean sacrificing audience insights. It means being more creative and innovative with our first-party data. And the data innovations specifically have positioned us well in the face of regulation and the changes upon us around the cookie that everybody's quite familiar with now. So for advertising specifically, we know that the value of a publisher's advertising suite will only be as good as the value of their first-party data and what they can do with that data. That's why we've spent the last 2 years devoting our resources to building audience models that are both performant and accurate. So how did we specifically do that? We started with one of our strengths, content, contextual or emotion-based products, which is really just understanding how an article makes someone feel. Those products helped us evolve the way the whole industry really thinks about contextual advertising, and it's driven our click-through rates consistently higher. This plus a proprietary topic model, which capitalizes on the breadth and depth of our Times content. I mean, we're producing 200 articles roughly a day, so it allowed us to tap into those. And the variety is really important too, the breadth that I was referring to, whether that's about non-fungible tokens or a trip to Florida or even the new feta cheese craze. So contextual products have driven high engagement benchmarks and been popular with our advertisers, outperforming IAB averages by almost 7-fold. Building on that, we moved from context to motivation, and this demonstrated to advertisers that it's not just about hitting your target audience wherever they're reading to drive performance. It's about finding new and familiar readers in relevant story environments where they're more receptive to ad messaging. Whether it's more granular topic targeting, trend targeting, or motivation targeting, we layered onto this contextual foundation and saw strong results. And then the third thing that we did was kind of naturally evolve into audience. Who are the people reading these stories? What does that mean for us product-wise, since we already have such rich content-based metadata from emotions to topics to motivations to journeys? Our first wave of socio-demographic segments launched last summer, and we've come a long way since then. So last but not least, we don't want to look to just those things individually, context, motivations, and audience, or in silos. They work together to strategically inform plans that hit on all elements. Readership represents an entire journey encompassing how someone spends their time with the New York Times and why and how they're engaging both with stories and the ads that they encounter therein. So as our subscriber business becomes more powerful, so does our ad offering. This virtuous cycle is working for us, and it builds on itself in a world order where we're accountable to both our readers and our ad partners. So I'll also just kind of, I know that not everybody has the resources that the New York Times has. So I do want to acknowledge, in terms of what others can do, that we have distinct advantages, our scale, our large sub business. It means we can make investments to innovate that not every publisher can. But I do think that the principles can still apply to every publisher. So for example, there's a growing suite of partners who are offering standard contextual targeting. You don't have to build your own topics model. You can build on their tools. Regarding audience, there are also scores of new partners who offer privacy-safe DMPs and data services. Some of these can create simple first-party powered segments, and others let you connect data with your clients. For the people power, I think even with the size of our data org, we have alone more than 100 data scientists working on this. So it's quite scaled now. The team. If you can't have that, then there's always more demand. Even for us, just know that we're all kind of struggling with the need for resourcing. So what I would do is look for shared opportunities. Could an ad team join with data on readership happening out of edit? Could your subscription marketing and ad teams split the cost of a new head or two to help explore and manage these solutions? Just a couple of thoughts as you're thinking about your own individual strategies. So looking ahead, as all of you in the audience know better than most, there are still so many unanswered questions about how the industry is going to continue to evolve and what new more privacy-minded solutions will arise in the future. That said, we are learning that being subscriber first and on the right side of privacy and data, that actually helps long-term with engagement and performance all the way around. So what's next for the Times specifically is scaling our efforts even more, especially in our first-party data offering. More broadly, our future is about expanding into additional paid options outside of the core news report in the form of cooking and games and more. So if you're addicted to the crossword mini, or my personal favorite, as you could tell from this presentation, the spelling bee, feel comfortable knowing that there are healthier options than your Instagram scroll. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. In fact, my head is, I listen to podcasts, including your podcast every day. So my head is filled with some campaign on the spelling bee is going on right now. And that's all I'm hearing about is the New York Times spelling bee. And I got to try it.
It's quite, I heard your panel before, it's quite sticky. You know, people are really gravitating to it. So it's been a very successful product for us.
And since you ended up by sort of moving people away from the Instagram scroll, I want to come back to this idea of how your first-party data differs from, in substantial ways, from what the platforms are making available. What is what do you know about your users that Facebook and Google don't, that advertisers?
I think the first, I just want to say that, like, we freely admit at the Times that we do not have the scale nor the amount of data that those platforms have. Like, that's just not what we're going to win at, and we know that. I did think the points that everyone else made around, you know, brand safety and all that are important, not related to data. But I think more and more this issue around consumers getting really smart about who they're sharing their information with and what they expect from the brands that they frequent. You know, that element of trust is really, really important. And I think what we're working really hard to do is make sure that our readers know that we're going to be on their side in this, and that there's not, they can trust us. And, you know, that we're going to, because subscriptions are such an important part of our business, we're going to make the right calls, and we're going to be transparent and open with them about it, even if that means we're losing potential ad revenue to do it. And I think in the end, if the industry can move more toward making those decisions, then I think we can all better come together for consistent solutions around targeting, and we can agree on them. We can have a governance body. We can I think compete in a way that we haven't really set ourselves up well for until now. And I think the platforms, they have a job to do there too. And I don't see them doing it yet, even if their garden is walled.
Well, you mentioned motivation as a bit of a differentiator. I like that category of motivation, of moving beyond just basic targeting. Could you tell us a little bit more about what motivation means? Is that just mid-funnel, or is that something else?
I mean, it can be further down the funnel. So we have targeting tools that allow you to select your ad to be placed next to content that has made readers, for example, want to spend money, has made readers want to live a healthier lifestyle, for example. So I think those are quite performant for us, and we're constantly experimenting. And I think the thing that is important here too to mention is that we don't necessarily want to have, you know, a huge like plethora of, you know, tools to target from. We want ones that work. And so we're trying to be really creative and innovate, not just repeat what third-party offerings, you know, had. And so we're learning all the time from these tools like emotion-based targeting, or even motivation, or journey-based targeting. We're learning from that what is working for different types of advertisers. And so this kind of iterative process is something that I think we're still, I would say, teenagers or maybe tweens even in, and there's a lot of potential, I think, industry-wide for more learning and more understanding and getting better.
Yeah, and bringing the focus back onto context and all of the nuances of context. Like as you say, certain types of content, we know if we look at the data the right way, we know that people take actions off of different types of data in different ways. And we have the data that can tell us that. And I think that's a place where just over all the many years of covering media, I have just not seen enough focus on really quantifying context, what that means to mindset and action.
You know, it's such a good point, Stephen. I think people do kind of relegate when we say content or context. If they have just a general understanding of it, they relegate it to like literally like section targeting or something that's very unsophisticated that we were doing 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And that's not at all what you know, representative of what we're doing today. So I think getting better and better at that. I mean, we're seeing it in the data.
Right. It's not tires in the sports section anymore. It's
Exactly.
really knowing the ways in which people act after seeing different content. And I think that's a really key to understanding what publishers like the Times and all the others who have been here and will be here for the next 2 days, what they have their fingers on that the platforms don't, is that level of understanding of behaviors.
That's right.
Lisa Howard, New York Times, thank you so much for this presentation. I know we already had people who were asking about whether they can go back and take notes of this from the video. So you obviously have piqued their interest. Thank you so much.
Oh, good, good. Well, happy to do it. And thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Okay.